I love Mike Tyson, but they giving him too much credit. He looked like trash to train that long and only throw 97 punches. The whole fight is crazy. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt out there. Let's not sugarcoat it. Terence Crawford's words were brutal. While most of the boxing world celebrated Mike Tyson's willingness to get back into the ring, Crawford took a very different approach. He didn't just critique, he questioned Tyson's very effort, something no one else dared to do publicly.
Jake says he could get a cruiserweight title in 2 years. Do you think he can?
Possible. It's possible. Listen, man, a lot of people write Jake off, but Jake can punch with that right hand. He got a nice right hand. Gained a lot of respect for Jake because he's not a YouTuber that's just boxing just to box. He actually...
Crawford's main argument: Tyson wasn't throwing enough punches. For an 8-round fight, the numbers were shockingly low. Tyson, known for his explosive energy and relentless aggression in his prime, threw fewer than 100 punches throughout the entire match. That's an average of barely over 12 punches per round. Crawford, a man who has built his career on technical precision and unrelenting offense, found that unacceptable.
27 punches, and you're telling me this gimp threw 278? But not only that, you're going to tell me as well that Tyson only landed 18. Percentage of 18%. Do you know what? Yeah, if it was not even fair, if it was a fight that was actually legit, I would give this brother props. But it so wasn't. It so wasn't. Mike Tyson did not even open himself up at...
Many fans believe that Tyson's age, 58, should be taken into account. They argue that stepping into the ring at all, especially against a younger and physically active Jake Paul, was an achievement in itself. This wasn't a prime Tyson, it was a Tyson who had already left the ring for good years ago and returned more for the spectacle than the competition. For Crawford though, that wasn't enough. If you sign up for a fight, he argued, you need to give it your all. He even said he wanted to sell out an arena larger than Mike and Jake managed. I think I can do 90,000 at Memorial Stadium. I think I'ma go on and make history just to make some of y'all mad because y'all be hating.
It's leaving a bad taste in the mouth of the people, and it can't be what Jake wants to be known for the rest of his career. There's all of this talk about world title this, Canelo that, but the actions speak way louder than the words, and the action says, I want easy fights for as much money as I can make. Now, in that sense, he's not that much different to some fighters out there who, you know, like John Jones, for example. But the level of ease, it's just ridiculous at this point. And it needs a level of validity and some real talent in front of him who actually can hurt him, because I think people are just gonna...
Crawford's critique hit a nerve because it wasn't just about the punches, it was about expectations. Fans wanted to see flashes of the old Tyson, the speed, the power, the ferocity. What they got instead was a slower, more hesitant version of Iron Mike. Crawford's comments reflected the disappointment of those who felt the fight didn't live up to the hype. But was it Tyson's fault, or was the bar set impossibly high from the start? The controversy doesn't stop at Crawford's critique. From the moment the fight ended, whispers of foul play started to circulate. Was Tyson holding back? Did Jake Paul really deserve the win, or was the whole thing staged for maximum profit? Let's break it down.
The worst pay-per-view event in the history of boxing. Let's start off by saying Netflix, that was absolutely garbage. The amount of time this the stream kept crashing was an absolute disgrace. It was a disgrace. I had to watch on a laptop. That's where it was okay. But on the TV, loads of people complaining about the same thing. And number two, listen, nostalgia made us feel like maybe we'll get a Mike Tyson just, you know, do something against Jake Paul. But 58 is 58. The guy's almost 60.
There were several instances during the fight when Tyson seemed hesitant to engage. Instead of unleashing his signature combinations, he would step back, bite his gloves, or simply not throw anything. To fans who've watched Tyson's career, this was strange. Tyson, even in exhibition matches, is known for his aggressiveness. So why was he so static? One theory is that Tyson didn't want to hurt Jake Paul. Let's not forget, Tyson has always been a showman. Perhaps he saw this fight as a spectacle rather than a competition. Maybe he believed that going full force against a much younger Jake Paul would have ruined the event. But fans weren't buying it. They argued that Tyson was holding back and it left a bad taste in their mouths. If you've watched Tyson's exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr. 4 years ago, you'll notice a huge difference. In that fight, Tyson was all over the ring. He moved like a man 20 years younger, chasing Jones and throwing combinations that reminded everyone of his prime. This time it was the opposite. Tyson barely moved, let alone attacked. Fans couldn't help but wonder what changed. Was it age catching up with him? Was it the knee injury? Or was there something more calculated going on?
I tried to give the fight the best fight I possibly could, but when someone's just surviving in the ring, basically, it's hard to make it exciting. So I couldn't really get him to engage me or slip shots and, you know, do something super cool or whatever. But I don't care about what people have to say. They're always going to have something to say, and that it is what it is.
Let's not forget Jake Paul's role in all this. After the fight, Paul wasted no time claiming he had outboxed Tyson and still had plenty of energy left. But even his biggest fans had to admit it wasn't exactly a dominant performance. Paul didn't throw many punches either, and his strategy seemed more about surviving than winning. This only added to the suspicion. If Paul really wanted to prove himself as a serious boxer, why didn't he push harder against an aging Tyson? And if Tyson was truly past his prime, why didn't Paul finish him off? These questions left fans divided, with some defending Paul's strategy and others accusing him of playing it safe.
Yes. And there's a reason why you stepped away from the game 20 plus years ago. If you thought you still had that in you, you would have kept fighting. You said you didn't have that in you anymore. It was bad. It was bad. And Stephen A., I want to echo everything that you said. This man owes a lot. He had 8 transfusions, almost lost his life, lost 25 pounds. Kudos. But bro, when you step into the ring, we got to set that aside. We got to judge you on your performance, and that performance was pathetic. I mean, you don't get no kudos about, oh, he's 58. No, that's not what this is. This was not some a celebrity. This was not for some charity.
The rigging allegations gained traction because they tapped into a deeper frustration among boxing fans. Many feel the sport has become too focused on money and not enough on competition. When a fight feels staged, it undermines the trust fans have in the sport. Whether or not Tyson and Paul intended it, the fight left many questioning the authenticity of modern boxing. So was Tyson really holding back, or was he simply past his prime? Did Jake Paul truly outbox a legend, or was the fight more about dollars than punches? The truth may never be clear, but one thing's for sure, this fight has sparked a debate that won't die down anytime soon.
He actually outboxed the boxer. Jake Paul outboxed Mike Tyson like he said he was going to do. Did you not? Like every single round.
No, and yeah, like what do people say? Like I told everyone what I was going to do is to give him a...
When you look at Mike Tyson's performance in the fight, it's impossible to ignore the factors that could have influenced his abilities. Sure, age is the obvious one, but there's more to the story than just being 58. Let's dig into what might have held Tyson back. Boxing at 58 is no joke. Tyson's body has been through decades of punishment, both in the ring and out. Every fighter slows down eventually, and while Tyson's spirit and determination remain unmatched, his physical limits are becoming more apparent. Footwork that used to be lightning fast is now more measured, and his once unstoppable punches lack the same power and speed. One of the biggest factors that might explain Tyson's lack of movement is his knee injury. It's no secret that he was dealing with some physical setbacks leading up to the fight. Boxing is as much about footwork and positioning as it is about punching, and a bad knee can throw everything off. Imagine trying to dodge punches or throw a strong jab while your knee isn't cooperating. It's not just about pain, it's about mobility. Tyson's inability to move around the ring the way he did in his younger days was noticeable, and it gave Jake Paul a clear advantage.
You really think you could take on Tyson Fury?
Tyson? You're taking a piss out? Absolutely not.
John, then?
John, not a chance. No way, Jose. No. Bambi. Come on, Bambi. Listen, if you want it, Bambi, if you think you're a fighting woman, let's get it on.
I'm not sure how that would work, Jake. She is a child.
Next on the list if she don't want it. Joshua. Yeah, I'll take Joshua. Go up to heavyweight. Let's do Joshua. Come on.
You want to fight AJ? Anthony Joshua?
No, Joshua is my next door neighbour. He's a 12-year-old lad, but I'll tell you what, he's a big boy. And he packs a punch. I've seen him in the garage. So yeah, if Joshua wants it, he can have it as well. Another one I was thinking, this will be a great legacy fight for me. Muhammad Ali.
I'm afraid to say he's actually past
I
Jake.
know he is, but you never lose that fight.
Tyson is known for his intense training routines, even at his age, but there's such a thing as pushing too hard. Reports suggest Tyson trained like he was in his prime, putting his body through rigorous workouts to prepare for the fight. For a younger fighter, that might be fine. But for someone nearing 60, overtraining can lead to exhaustion before the match even begins. Did Tyson burn himself out in training? It's possible. His sluggish movements and lack of aggression in the ring could be signs that he had already spent his energy long before the first bell rang. Paul even went as far as to say he outboxed Tyson easily. Was this just trash talk, or did Paul have a point? Some fans agreed, pointing out that Tyson showed moments of hesitation where he could have gone on the offensive. Others think Paul was just trying to hype himself up and justify his win. Was this fight just a massive money grab? From the moment the fight was announced, there were whispers that the event wasn't about competition, it was about cash. And when you look at the numbers, it's hard to ignore the financial angle.
Rounds. Jake Paul apparently is getting $40 million. Mike Tyson only getting $20 million. I'm shocked at that. The most famous boxer alive is getting a smaller piece of the pie. I mean, they're the reported figures, but I hope that's not true. Tyson deserves an equal half of this pie, in my opinion. He's the reason they're selling out this stadium, right? He's the reason why.
Boxing has always been part sport, part entertainment, and this fight leaned heavily toward the latter. Tyson and Paul knew exactly what they were doing. The match wasn't just marketed as a fight, it was sold as a spectacle. Two wildly different generations of fighters clashing in the ring. That's the kind of storyline that sells pay-per-views. And sell it did. The fight reportedly generated $60 million, with Jake Paul taking home the lion's share of the earnings. Tyson, despite being the bigger name, reportedly accepted a smaller cut. Why? Some speculate that Tyson viewed this fight as more of a farewell performance than a serious payday. One of the biggest criticisms of the fight was the lack of intensity. Fans noted that neither fighter seemed to go for a knockout. Instead, it felt like both men were holding back, playing it safe. For many, this was a clear sign that the fight was staged.
To be able to stand up on his own at this age, I think it's impressive. And stand up against a young 27 years old guy, even though I would say he wouldn't be at that level, but wasn't that much a threat for Mike, though. Like, you have to give it up for him, to him, standing up by his own at that age, and go like over 15 minutes with a young guy, man. That was impressive.
At the end of the day, it's hard to argue with the numbers. Tyson and Paul made a combined $60 million from this fight. That's more than enough to make anyone step into the ring, regardless of the criticism. But for fans who are hoping for a real clash of skill and power, the financial success of the fight doesn't make up for the lack of action. When the dust settled after the fight, the backlash against Jake Paul was as loud as the hype leading up to it. While Paul technically won the match, his actions in and out of the ring left fans, critics, and even former champions questioning his approach. Was this a legitimate win, or just another example of Paul playing the villain to keep his brand alive?
All in all, like I said, the event was great. The co-main event was one of the best fights I've ever seen. I still think Amanda Serrano won. Fight about it in the comments. But the main event, it just left you feeling a lot more sad for Mike, a bit underwhelmed by Jake's performance. What's next for Mike? Better be retirement. What's next for Jake? I genuinely don't have.
One of the most vocal critics was Carl Froch, a former world champion known for his no-nonsense attitude. Froch didn't mince words. He called Jake Paul out for what he saw as blatant disrespect toward Mike Tyson. Froch even went as far as challenging Paul to a fight, saying, "I'll fight him with one hand behind my back." It was a bold statement, but it reflected the frustration many traditional boxing fans felt.
Close that gap. So whenever Mike Tyson tried to get a little bit close to him, and he didn't try that hard, Tyson looked like he just took his time, but he's 58 years old, what do you expect? But every time he did try and close the gap, Jake Paul backed off, got behind his jab, he threw a couple of shots in there, he did throw a couple of big swings as well at one point, so that's why I have to question. When he said he took his time on Mike Tyson, didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to knock him out, I'm not so sure about that, because he was swinging away at points in that ring, and if some of them shots would have landed, they would have probably hurt Mike Tyson, because he's 58 years old. But anyway, nothing really happened. Tyson came out round 1-2, threw a couple of shots. He was on his front foot, putting Jake Paul on his back foot a little bit. But when he got close, he was unable to land the hook or unable to engage in 3 or 4 shots because it was just, they came too close and they tied each other up. And then They was either too far away or too close, and Mike Tyson...
Critics weren't just upset about what Paul said after the fight, they also took issue with his tactics during the match. Paul was aggressive at times, throwing punches with real force, but it often felt calculated. He seemed to target moments when Tyson wasn't retaliating, which led to accusations of him exploiting the situation. While some fans saw this as smart boxing, taking advantage of opportunities, others saw it as a lack of respect for a fighter who had already cemented his place in history. To land heavy shots on a man who wasn't fighting back felt unnecessary and even disrespectful to some viewers.
At any point, did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, like there was a point where, you know, I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back. And so I don't know if he's tired or whatever. And I could just tell, you know, his age was showing a little bit. And I just have so much respect for him. And that like violence war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to, you know, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff, but that kind of went away as the rounds went on.
Jake Paul has always been a polarizing figure, and this fight was no exception. His supporters praised him for stepping into the ring with a legend and holding his own. They argued that Paul's confidence and willingness to fight anyone, no matter their status, was commendable. But his detractors saw things differently. For them, this fight was just another example of Paul trying to build his brand at the expense of others. They felt he didn't truly earn the win, and his post-fight comments about outboxing Tyson only added fuel to the fire. After the fight, Paul wasted no time setting his sights on bigger names. He called out Conor McGregor and Gervonta Davis, two of the biggest stars in combat sports. To some, this showed Paul's ambition. To others, it felt like another publicity stunt. The question remains, can Jake Paul truly prove himself as a legitimate boxer? Or will he always be seen as a showman first and a fighter second?
Gervonta needs Jake Paul, let's be clear, right? Is there a height limit in boxing?
What about you and Conor McGregor? Are you interested in that?
Yeah, he'll never do that though. He knows way. One, he's under contract. And two,
if there's one thing no one can deny, it's that this fight was a massive financial success. Regardless of the criticism surrounding the match, the numbers speak for themselves. With $60 million reportedly generated between the two fighters, this wasn't just a fight, it was a blockbuster event. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul both walked away with huge paychecks. While exact figures vary, it's widely believed that Paul earned the larger share of the pot. For Tyson, the fight was less about money and more about the experience and the chance to step back into the spotlight one last time. But for Paul, this was a calculated move to solidify his status as a major player in the world of boxing entertainment. Fans couldn't help but notice the disparity in earnings. Many felt Tyson, as the bigger draw and the legend in the ring, deserved more of the purse. But Tyson himself seemed unbothered. For him, the fight was about more than just money. It was about going out on his own terms. This is one of those situations when you lost but still won. I'm grateful for last night. No regrets to get in ring one last time. I almost died in June, had 8 blood transfusions, lost half my blood and 25 pounds in hospital, and had to fight to get healthy to fight, so I won.
I can't do this. I know I could possibly, if I pressed him, if I really pushed it, if for nothing else but fatigue alone, I possibly could put him down. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not far-fetched, because consider just 20 years earlier, when Mike Tyson was in his 30s, but the end of his career had arrived when he got dropped by Kevin McBride. Mike Tyson wasn't hurt. He was tired. He was fatigued. He was out of shape. And you remember when he got dropped and he was sitting on his behind and he literally lifted his arm for the referee to help him up? That's how tired he was. That was over 20 years ago. That's about 20 years ago, rather. What the hell did you think he was Friday night?
For Mike Tyson, this fight marked the end of an era. He officially announced his retirement after the match, closing the chapter on one of the most legendary careers in boxing history. While the fight wasn't the triumphant farewell many fans had hoped for, Tyson walked away unscathed, a victory in its own right given his age and physical condition. Tyson expressed gratitude for the opportunity to step back into the ring, even if it wasn't under traditional circumstances. For him, the fight was a chance to show the world that his passion for the sport remains strong, even if his body isn't what it once was.
Were you able to catch any of the Mike Tyson fight, and what was your thoughts on him getting back in the ring at 58?
I did catch the fight. It was hard to see him so old. You know, Red Jones Jr. kept saying it, man, those legs aren't working. It was really hard to see. He really sold it, you know, with the highlight videos and him training. And
while Tyson is stepping away from the sport, Jake Paul is just getting started. Fresh off his victory, Paul wasted no time calling out some of the biggest names in combat sports. His list of targets included Conor McGregor and Gervonta Davis, both of whom would present significant challenges. Whether these fights will actually happen remains to be seen, but one thing is clear, Paul isn't going anywhere. Love him or hate him, he's become one of the most talked about figures in boxing, and he knows how to keep his name in the headlines. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.